offensive line quarterback relationship's always close, and he was he was kind of a mentor for me, especially in the recruiting process. I really admired how he didn't do all the flashy stuff. He didn't do all that because he didn't need to. He went out there and threw a million touchdowns, senior year and all the years he was in high school. So I think I kind of took that lead, and I'm not the flashy type anyway, so I wouldn't have been like that. But he kind of kept me humble, and I think he had a good template of how to be recruited and how to be successful, and so I just kind of followed that.
He said he didn't know what to think about you, and then when he first saw you, he was like, "Oh wow, this kid's gonna be able to play." What was your first impressions of him, seeing him?
Well, it's funny because I played for another local high school for a season, and we weren't at that level. So I remember being on the bus rides home from games and stuff, and they were like, "Well, Folsom won 63-0 again, and Jake Browning threw whatever 7 touchdowns or something like that." And so I heard his name, and you kind of assume a superstar quarterback's gonna have an ego and stuff like that. And so we had our first little day of practice, my first day at Folsom, and he came off the field and introduced himself to me because I was a new kid or whatever, and I kind of assumed he would be too good for that. He was wearing, old t-shirt and stuff, doing his little thing, and so I think that was kind of the first thing that struck me, is he didn't have this big superstar ego or anything like that. He came across as really humble, and so I think that was, I was like, well, that's gonna be a good kid.
He wasn't one of those guys who kind of got into Elite 11 and going all these camps on the side. When you talk about the template, was that something that the program itself, kind of like guys don't do 7-on-7, they kind of just focus in on the high school? Is that something?
Well, I think that's one of the things that coaches preach over at Folsom. There are things that, they've played 15 or 16 games the last, I don't even know how many years. So you're going to have a lot of film. And if you play well on film against good competition, that's all the college coaches need to see. The other stuff is nice for pats on the back and highlighter colored jackets and stuff like that. But if you wanna play and be successful at the college level, it's really not that important to go get your shoulders rubbed by.
Did he push for you to try to come to Washington?
Not really, not a whole lot. I mean, he would speak highly of Washington, speak highly of his coaches and stuff like that, but he didn't really try to pressure me into it or anything. He kind of knew where I wanted to be and stuff like that. We'd love to have you.
What's the best advice he gave you?
He's not really, he's not one to have a nice little quote or anything like that, so I can't wrap it up for you. But I do think the kind of the humble approach to it, and it's paid off for both of us. We didn't do a single one of those camps, and we're both excelling on a big stage. So I think that kind of leading by example more so than quote.
Did you guys talk a lot during the season? Like, how often do you?
Yeah, I'll talk to him after every game. I'll hear how he does, and text him congrats or something like that. And I always, supporting them, wanting them to do well just for him. But it's kind of, I never really expected it to end up like this. And so
what has this week been like? What after the matchup was announced? What was it like with you?
Yeah, I think for the sake of our friendship, we're really not talking a lot of football. But we're good friends for a long time, so there's not any animosity or anything like that. But it's definitely a competitive spirit. He wants to win, I want to win. So there's no hard feelings personally, but we're both competitors. So.
Were you born and raised in California?
No, I was born and raised in Atlanta. I moved out of California after my freshman year of high school.
You go up against this defense every day at practice. You think he has any idea what he's getting himself into?
I don't, honestly. There's really nothing like it, I think in this bowl prep we've done more good on good, we call it, going against our own defense. And so it's just kind of been a reminder. It feels like camp again, where it's just like, these guys are good, because you get to see it every week, but you kind of forget what it's to be like to go against them full speed. And so he's a pretty level-headed guy, but he's, there's a storm coming.